Trafficking and child exploitation can happen in many different ways. The better the public understands this problem, the better we can help solve these problems in the various realms of society, in the various ways that it looks. Because this is not a one-size-fits-all problem. There are not one-size-fits-all solutions. That's why people need training and education, but not just awareness, not just information. Information they can actually take action on, and then the willingness to actually act. So one of my initiatives is creating training programs for different realms of society, different careers and industries that are likely to encounter trafficking. Not only do we need to correct the premise to help understand what trafficking is and how it may look in our community or in these specific realms, we also need our response to be appropriate and trauma-informed. So a lot of times there's a lack in training. People aren't even armed with the empowerment of what to do, but also their response doesn't always make sense, right? That's why I'm big on understanding this problem. So whether it's a church or a school or a place of business, or whether it's law enforcement or a similar type government agency, these things can play out very differently in different realms of our society. And we need to understand how to identify the predators and also the victims in these various realms. A lot can be learned by understanding the psychology of predators. We're not here to justify them. If we understand these things, we can essentially reverse engineer them, or at least spot the patterns and signs and know their impact on victims, and therefore how to actually help the victims. So a big part of whether or not we're helpful is being trauma-informed, meaning being willing to understand the various dynamic of what's involved with these humans and their unique lived experience, trauma, and current state. Traffickers generally exploit vulnerabilities, and these can be children that don't have good, safe families who are often neglected. It could also be places of faith that are generally very welcoming and want to recruit people in, so they don't always vet people who have access to children. It can also be public figures and people we're supposed to trust that make sounds with their mouth when they want our votes, but they don't always carry through with those promises, right? So the better we understand these problems, the better we can solve them, and the less unknowns there are, right? The less we're guessing. Because look, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of survivors' stories and experiences, there's a lot of case studies we can reference to see whether or not these things are actually working, right? Otherwise, we're just assuming something's part of the solution when it might actually be part of the problem.